7 candidates running to become the next governor of California squared off last night in the final debate before the primary next month. During the 90-minute showdown on CBS California, the gubernatorial contenders tackled issues including affordability, climate change, and artificial intelligence. And both Republicans and Democrats took opportunities to attack Democratic candidate Xavier Becerra.
It pains me to say, because I like you personally, Javier, but you shouldn't be on this stage. You shouldn't be in this race. You should be preparing your criminal defense.
That does not preclude an indictment from being issued against you.
There's also a lot of fraud that happened under Javier's watch that we know about. Let's just stick to the facts.
This is what happens when you take the lead in the polls and you're ahead of everyone else.
CBS News political director Fin Gómez joins us from D.C. to break it all down for us. Good morning, Fin. So is that the reason? Why was Becerra such a main target? And explain these comments about alleged criminal activity.
Yeah, good morning, Errol. Look, when you're leading in the polls in a crowded field like this, and Becerra has a slight lead in most polls, you become the target. And Becerra clearly wore that target last night. Democrats and Republicans, like you saw there, went after him over his record as California Attorney General and later as HHS Secretary under Joe Biden. He himself took aim at Republican Steve Hilton and again called him President Trump his daddy. There were some real political fireworks on stage last night. Some candidates like Hilton and Katie Porter tried to tie him to that corruption scandal involving his former aides, including his former political advisor, Dana Williamson, who was indicted last year on 23 charges stemming from a plot to steal over $200,000 from one of Becerra's campaign accounts. Williamson pled guilty to reduced charges on the same day yesterday as the debate. There's no indication Becerra himself has been accused of any criminal wrongdoing at this point. Still, in a jungle primary where there are only the top 2 candidates advance, regardless of party, these candidates are trying to blunt his momentum and break through in a race where Becerra has emerged as one of the frontrunners. But in a field where there isn't much separation between these candidates in the polls we've seen, Errol.
All right, folks can check out the clips from CBS California to see some more of the fireworks. Fin,
they did a great job. They did a great job.
Yeah, it was
our
very
colleagues, the CBS News California stations did a great job moderating that debate.
Very well done debate. I want to ask you about Vice President J.D. Vance. He delivered remarks in Maine yesterday about the White House's efforts to combat fraud. What's the bigger context and picture there?
Look, this was a visit more than just about policy. On the surface, the vice president was in Maine to promote the anti-fraud investigations by the Trump administration. It was also happening against the backdrop of what's becoming one of the most closely watched Senate races in the country. Maine is emerging as a top battleground this cycle, and Senator Susan Collins is one of the most vulnerable Republicans on the Senate map this year. Listen to what the vice president had to say about Susan Collins.
Here's the thing I'll say about Susan Collins is sometimes I get frustrated with Susan Collins. I almost wish that she was more partisan. But the thing I love about Susan is she is independent because Maine is an independent state. And frankly, if she was as partisan as I sometimes wish that she was, she would not be a good fit for the people of Maine.
So again, for Vice President Vance, this trip gave the White House a chance to sharpen its message on fraud, which is a big issue for them this cycle. It also fits into a strategy we're seeing from the White House and national Republicans heading into the midterms to compete aggressively in these key battleground matchups like Maine. Errol?
Yeah, we'll expect to see the vice president continuing to rack up those miles as we approach the midterms. Fin, always great to see you. Enjoy your weekend as soon as you get there.